Welcome to the AI for Sales podcast, sponsored by Nooks.ai and BDR.ai, where technology meets tenacity and the future of sales is happening right now. Hosted by best-selling author, speaker, and sales innovator Chad Burmeister, this show is your gateway to 5x, even 10x your pipeline and performance. We are here to show you how artificial intelligence and human creativity come together to generate more opportunities faster than ever before. Because in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for sales, AI kills time. Get ready to learn, level up, and lead the AI for sales revolution. This is the AI for Sales podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another AI for Sales podcast. I am Chad Burmeister, your host, and we are joined by another gentleman from the UK. I think that's two back to back. So yesterday I was here in Vegas. I'm here again, coming to you live from Vegas. So if there's any Wi-Fi issues, that's why. Bear with me through today, but I think we'll be fine. We are with Lee Hackett, and he is with Blueprint X. I love the X at the end of the name. If you know me at all, I was with FedEx, I was with WebEx, and then I created a company called ScaleX. So I just can't get away from the name X. And now we're here with the CEO of Blueprint X, digital growth strategist, former pro athlete. In the UK, they would call it football. In the US, we call it soccer. So today I'm excited to have Lee Hackett. Lee, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chad. Yeah, great to be here.
Man, we were just talking how, being a pro athlete and then moving into business, it's just a different field of play. You can either be out there with the green field and now you're on a different field of business. And when you add AI to the field of play, it makes it even more interesting, doesn't it? I'm going to go off script and ask, how has AI changed the field of play for you, thinking at it from a pro athlete level?
Yeah, it's a great question, Chad. So, and as I said, look, good to be here, and hopefully you've not lost any money in Vegas, right? That's
it depends on your definition of lose. I won, and then I gave back what I won. So no, I haven't lost anything. If that's
that sounds good to me. Yeah, that you kind of equal that out. So that sounds good. But look, no, it's a great question. And we were just talking off camera around, the kind of reusable skills from being in sport and then being able to translate that over to business. And I think when I think about AI, I kind of think about having to relearn everything. And when I think you're in sport, you're kind of learning every day. You're kind of learning curve. You have to be agile. You have to be really thinking about and be coachable, and you have to be working as a team and all of those kind of things. But I think AI now has accentuated, how business is being done, and it's really moving fast, and it is changing literally and every single day how we approach stuff, how we do business, how our customers are doing business. I'm kind of in the super excited camp. I meet a lot of people and a lot of our customers who are, maybe less enthusiastic or maybe in the doom camp. But I think it's, there's a lot of agility, curiosity, and speed that's needed with AI in business now.
Well, and it seems to me with agentic AI, you can now start to approximate more of your A players and also equip more of your B players and make them more like A players. Are you seeing that out there in the world? If you empower someone with AI, maybe they're not one of your super uber performers, but after a few months or maybe a year of equipping them with an AI platform, maybe they could be one of your uber performers.
Yeah. Look, here's my kind of take on it, Chad. I think adoption is going to be key here, right? So I think first of all, you kind of need a mindset. This is about mindset initially, and kind of see this now within our our engagements, our mandates with our customers, our assignments in terms of, do they have the, the individuals, the people within sales who are, again, are they curious, right? Are they willing to do things differently? How are they able to change as quickly as they need to change? And I think so that kind of adoption kind of phase is going to be key. I think what we'll then go through, I think we will then start to see, your kind of B game salespeople become really, really good, and your A game salespeople will become off the charts. I actually think there's another phase after that, though, when the kind of B game players just get automated out the game. I really do, and I think how quickly that comes, that's kind of hard to know. I think we're always going to see people, humans in the loop. I think a lot of the kind of the work that's done by sales, it'll be very, very, very different. And that's going to be done. A lot of the kind of heavy lifting is going to be done by AI and high levels of automation. And that's going to allow those A game players to really do what they do well, and that's understand people.
Yeah. The conversations that I'm having in the world are just different. And I've been talking about AI for the last 7 years. So what I first started talking about was more automation, right? And the word AI was just not what it is today. And now it's just moving at such an accelerated clip. So it sounds like just in the last minute of what we've been talking about, I can tell you've got your hooks into what's going on out there. So let me ask you one of the questions I love to ask everybody, and that is from a customer experience perspective. We've been kind of focused on the sales rep and the leader perspective, but what about from a customer experience perspective? What do you think what benefits to the customer are there as AI becomes more prevalent?
Yeah, look, I just, hyper levels of personalization. I think, we're a big partner of Adobe, and, and what Adobe are doing with their Adobe stack and around hyper personalization and Gen AI and these kind of things. Chad, I've got to tell you, it's unbelievable. And would I say all of these features are kind of up and running now? But this is going to drive levels of hyper personalization like we've never seen before, right? The kind of total experience. I kind of prefer the term total experience, not even customer experience. Customer experience doesn't even cut it, because really that it's that whole total experience that you will have with a brand will be hyper personalized. And I think that's, not going to be easy to do. I think a lot of organizations think it's going to be easy to get there. I think this wave of AI is still going to take a lot of adoption. But when AI starts to adapt and install and improve itself, then that's a different story. But I think we're a little bit away from that. But I think what you're going to see with the kind of things that Adobe are doing and Salesforce are doing, it's phenomenal. And I think that total experience that they're going to give to their clients will be completely different than it is now.
Yeah. I'm in Vegas, as you know, and I remember 15 years ago, the Rio Hotel sounded great. You walk into the lobby and they knew your social score. And I was like, oh, wow, we've arrived. You have a social score, and they know which floor to put you on. And I thought, how cool is this? This is personalization. And little did I know we were nowhere near where we are now. And so I think the levels of personalization, the way you can personalize your emails based on company, title, role, instead of just writing like, oh, it's 6 different emails depending on who you are when you go to the website, it'll move to 6 million email variations, an infinite number of email variations. I mean, that's where we are. It's really magic of what's going on. Maybe there's a case study that you can share. I'd love to start to expose some of the flavors that people are working on. Just in the last 8 episodes, everybody's exposed something that I hadn't even thought of. Is there something that that's maybe on your radar that you say, yeah, let me tell you something I've worked on lately that maybe you haven't been exposed to yet?
Yeah, look, I think I would put myself as a salesperson, Chad. First, I'm a CEO, yes, but I'm kind of from the sales side of the house. And when I kind of think about sales, and I think about all the a great salesperson kind of just orchestrates the whole sales process, right? And whatever industry you're in, obviously, if it's classically B2B, it's very much around orchestration. It kind of takes a village, all that kind of thing. And what I kind of see now, where we're kind of doing this now ourselves. We're doing this with some clients and kind of testing where we can manage the whole sales process all the way from kind of lead generation right the way through to customer success, retention, NPS, you name it. That whole thing is managed by an AI layer. So there's no kind of inputting into systems. There's no kind of swivel chairing from one platform to another. All of this is kind of all managed in an interface, and then and using real insight and data to then provide really unique, tailored content to that salesperson to engage with that customer. When I see that, and I think about the man hours available, the kind of and the experience that you give to the customer, it kind of just blows my mind. And this is producing content that literally, we're scoring MedPick, we're looking at, the kind of credit score of the customer, we're looking at all the live data of the customer, their buying habits. All of these things is being done by the AI engine, over and above looking at your content internally, what you go to market, what your triggers, all of these kind of things just being literally done instantly. That blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, data entry in Salesforce has always been a very fun and accurate thing done by sales professionals over the
Yeah,
decades,
not.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very good at best case, commit, omitted.
Yeah.
Omitted is probably one of the favorites by a sales professional.
Yeah. Well, look, if you just think about it, you just think about it like this: if I had one interface for everything, and my whole kind of role is ran through that interface, like we use ChatGPT now or whatever the kind of model is, and that everything that you do is fed through there, and you're using speech, um, and that is a two-way street where there's a lot of prompts coming from the AI. And look, we're doing this now. This is not like in 2 or 3 years down the line. This is now. So the productivity and the ROI gains for sales is phenomenal.
Every quarter, your pipeline goals go up. But when SDR teams are bogged down by prospecting, dialing, and coaching busy work, they struggle to hit their goals. That's where Nooks comes in. Nooks helps you double and even triple the pipeline you generate. Nooks is the AI sales assistant platform that automates account research, list building, and getting more great prospect conversations, so you can focus on the human side of selling. Companies like Seismic, Modern Health, and Greenhouse use Nooks to radically increase outbound pipeline. See how you can build more pipeline today by visiting nooks.ai.
Yeah. Wow. I recently talked to a guest who said that there's kind of two people in the world. You're either a visionary kind of leader, or you're process minded, and obviously that's not a totally true statement. You can have remnants of both, but I definitely tend to be in the visionary, and it's a little more difficult for me to document. However, with AI as a visionary leader, this gentleman taught me how to just speak my mind, and the AI within a few minutes could cause me to become a process-minded thinker by just documenting everything. And I thought, how cool is that? I haven't tested that one out yet after the conversation, but amazing how AI is just changing what it is we can deliver. And
Look,
become
and,
a PhD.
here's another great example of that for you. So, and knows this is a sales audience. So, but we're all familiar with probably Challenger. We're familiar with the Jolt effect, which I'm a huge fan of. And we have agents in our business running in the background, scoring opportunities, the content that we produce, the proposals that we produce, scoring opportunities, our documentation, our interactions with our customers against those methodologies. And so you think about kind of a sales coaching as a concept now is completely different, right? Every salesperson will have their own AI sales coach, right? That's kind of here now, and that's just going to accelerate, and it's going to keep, just accelerating, and it's so exciting.
100%. We've got it on the prospecting side of the house with our Nooks deployment, and it listens to all the calls. And thinking back to my RingCentral days when we had people in the Philippines, hundreds of reps, they might listen to a call every once in a while because you couldn't listen to every single call. But now when the AI can listen to every call and score every call, red, yellow, green, first part of the call, second part, third part,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And a lot of the reps, I think, used to think when it first started coming out, oh, am I being big brothered? And now the reps are enthusiastic about it. They say, this is amazing. I want this because I want to be a better seller. Who doesn't want that?
Absolutely.
Amazing. What about the misconceptions? The early elephant in the room was AI is going to take my job. And I think now, most people are embracing it. Unemployment rates, at least in America, continue to be very low. It hasn't come in and swept out everyone's jobs. Like we said a little bit ago, sure, it may take out, low performers. But so far it's made us more productive. What are some of the misconceptions around AI that you're seeing out there so far?
Yeah, look, I think from a customer perspective, so, our customers are kind of large enterprise, mid-market companies, predominantly global. And I think the first misconception is, you can kind of adopt these tools relatively easily. And I think, this is about adoption. So that's what we see now is the level of adoption required. I think in terms of the jobs front, look, I kind of, who knows, right? What will exactly happen? But I think what we will see is huge productivity gains in the very short term. So, and in a sales context, the important metrics for me all the time are win rate, pipeline generation, velocity, CAC to LTV, all these kind of metrics, which are from a sales perspective and a business perspective, are really important. We're expecting to see win rates improving by 6%, 7%, within very, very short periods of time of implementing, Agent Force from Salesforce, right? Because if implemented correctly, if adopted correctly, we're seeing those kind of gains. And again, that acceleration curve is only going to get better. This stuff's not going to kind of stay the same. It's going to keep getting more efficient. So I think after that, that's hard to know, right? Because I think it's down to how much AI can actually just manage the whole process. Do we see procurement agents talking to other procurement agents, legal? I probably think we do, and I think we're going to have that kind of very singular human contact, and that's going to be even more of a leverage point than it was before. That's my kind of theory. How quickly we get there, I don't know, but I think what we'll see in the short term, Chad, is huge boost in conversion rates, huge boost in pipeline generation, velocity is going to come down, and I think that is going to add so much value to businesses. The outcome, the ROI on that is huge.
I've been living at the top of the funnel for so many years now that I haven't been on the forecasting side as much, let's say for the last 3 to 5 years. And so I haven't seen as much AI down funnel. I've seen it much more on top of funnel. Um, are you seeing, out of curiosity, Lee, more? There's always been the reps who forecast tightly. Some forecast, there's 4 or 5 different types of people that forecast very differently. Does AI start to balance that out at all?
Yeah. So a really good anecdote example. So a friend of mine, he's not a customer, but a friend of mine, he's a CSO. He's got about global sales team of about 400 people. So he's got a classical sales structure, so kind of regional sales structures, and the numbers get rolled up to him once a week. So through Salesforce, and he's been using AI based forecasting for the last 14, 15 months. And they've been running it side by side. So this guy's, he's 60 years of age. He's kind of been in multiple projects, multiple exits. He's a seasoned CSO, right? He knows how to forecast. And he tells me that now they've been running that side by side for the last 6, 7 months, accurately against his forecast. And that forecast now, the AI is more accurate than him. And so this is I think they implemented it 14 months ago, but they've been running a side by side forecast for 7 months. And I think the AI beat him 5 months out of 7.
Wow, that's neat. There's a brewery in Colorado called Breckenridge Brewery, named after a ski area. And we toured this Breckenridge Brewery. And when they first implemented AI 2, 3 years ago, they had a little computer sitting on the floor with a little Ethernet cable sticking out. And my nephew said, "What's that?" And they said, "Oh, that's our new AI that's managing all of that, componentry and the mixing of the hops and everything." And he said, "Oh, how's it working?" And they said, "Well, the first couple of weeks it didn't work so well, but now it's working better than what it was. Now it's better than the humans."
Yeah.
And so all it took was a few weeks of learning curve, and then they got the model right. So I'm not surprised, and I think 5 of 7 months. Now that it's gotten through the learning curve, I'm pretty sure they'll probably cut away from the human forecasting and never look back.
Yeah, look, it's kind of I think sales is one of the definitely one of the industries to be most highly disrupted, because sales is just a process. It really is just a process of actions, and I think and AI can just use much more data points than a human can. And so as soon as it starts to kind of build a trend, and it's going to use 10,000 more data points than what a human could do, I think even with what he has as 40 years of experience, then the AI is just going to learn faster. And I think that's going to be the case in all industries. But I think forecasting is probably one of the things that it'll be best at. I think top of the funnel, with the world you're in, BDR and SDRs and those kind of things, and does that whole thing get automated out? I think there's some really exciting things there. But I think obviously if you can improve win rates in a multi-million-billion-dollar business by 5 or 6%, there's a hell of a lot of money. And so we're putting a lot of attention with our customers in that area, in terms of, because you can really start to turn the dial.
Yeah, that's neat. There was a company called Balto Software that built a sidecar that would listen to the conversations and then give you objection handling techniques and those kinds of things. And they were ahead of their time. This was 5, 6 years ago. I'm sure there's a dozen of those companies now that sidecar into your Zoom call and give you that ability. There's always the objection by certain sales leaders that said, what salespeople can actually look and talk and read something at the same time? I myself find that rather difficult, but
yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting value proposition. What about other technologies? We've talked about a lot of, fundamental shifts. Are there any fancy, shiny objects that you're finding out there. Grok 4 came out recently. Obviously, ChatGPT 5, I'm told, has some really neat capabilities that just came out, and it just seems like leapfrogs. But what else is on the market that's catching your eye?
Yeah, look, the ones, Chad, that I guess there's lots of really kind of SaaS based AI platforms which are, really fast moving businesses that have came from nowhere, and just kind of really exciting stuff about, creating agents. And I think the models are really interesting. ChatGPT 5, I've spent most of the morning just kind of playing on that. Um, I think that, I'm very much in the Adobe and Salesforce world and that kind of enterprise level software. I look at those platforms and go, these are going to be hard to beat. The level of agent force within Salesforce and the speed of development of those platforms is phenomenal. And of course, they're going to connect all of the business operations together. What Adobe are doing around Gen AI and the ability for enterprises to create content, personalized content at scale. These are taking workflows that would once take 3 weeks down to 3 hours. So it's kind of phenomenal, I think. But I'm in this world, Chad. I'm in the kind of tech world within sales and marketing, and I kind of find it hard to keep up. There's literally new tools coming on the market every day, but I'm really excited and bullish about what Salesforce and Adobe are doing.
Yeah. Well, it's quite an interesting world we live in. I'm looking at your website right now, and I'm just amazed at all of the people that you help. Financial services, retail CPG, technology and software, creative media, manufacturing, ProServe, strategy and AI, data and analytics, content. I mean, you've got a lot of services that you help. I'm assuming worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide, US, UK, Australia are our main kind of territories, but really serving global customers, global brands, yeah,
Wow.
across all of that.
And is there a specific niche of company sizes, or do you serve, is there 100 million and up, or what's kind of your core focus?
Yeah, look, our ICP, our ideal customer profile would be, probably a business of 500 million plus, um, reasonably, probably international, um, probably reasonably complex. And, our business model is, that kind of boutique specialist at scale business that, we're kind of, our peers are people like Accenture, people like EY, people like Deloitte. So we're kind of offering that, that boutique white glove kind of service to these customers, to the CTO or the CMO, and across those industries. And it's really that specialist knowledge in doing this, and Chad, really just being results driven, right? This is all about results. I think what I often say, what we do is kind of unlock the untapped value that our customers have with that technology. Companies invest a hell of a lot in it, particularly now with the AI, the gains are even bigger. And so the imperative to get the value is even bigger. So, we're just privileged to serve some of the companies that we work with. And, we're kind of lucky to be doing this every day.
Love it. I'm in the middle of a book called Digital Labor that was written in 2019,
Wow.
and it talks about wave one, wave two, and wave three. And you mentioned the word earlier in our conversation, orchestration. And orchestration seems to take us from manual labor up to, manual labor being a 1x of manual labor. And then orchestration maybe a 5x, maybe 7x. Once you get way, way up the curve in wave three, you're at a 35x. And I think in certainly in our lifetime, maybe in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to get up to a 35x. And there's going to be a lot of multimillionaires that get made, and probably the first $1 billion company run by one person will happen very quickly. So interesting and fun time to be alive, isn't it?
Amazing. And look, I actually think we're going to have some, super rich people in sales, right? Because, to take your kind of 35x return, and I agree with that actually. We've actually modeled this for some customers and ourselves. I think you take that kind of, let's say someone who's got a $5 million sales quota now in a, I don't know, large SaaS enterprise business. I think with AI, that individual could maybe 20x that, 30x that, 35x that. And the value that would create for the company, the value that would create for the individual. So I think we're going to see some seriously wealthy people in sales. We already do, but I think we're going to see some seriously wealthy people in sales in the next 4 or 5 years as well.
100%. Well, Lee, I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. You're clearly a master of your domain. It's always a pleasure having really smart people leading the curve in thought leadership on AI. So pleasure to have you. If you're ever in the Colorado area or stateside, look me up. I'd love to take you out for a beer. Pleasure meeting you. Thanks for being on the show. And thanks for sharing all your insights today.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Hopefully I can bring a bit of value. So thank you.
All right, everybody. If you're 500 million and up, I bet if you're 350, Lee would probably take your call as well. But check out Blueprint X. It's BLUprintx.com. And if you want to focus on outcomes and not just strategy, then I think you would be at the right place. BlueprintX.com. Lee Hackett, thank you so much for being here. And thanks for joining another AI for Sales podcast.
You've been listening to the AI for Sales podcast, sponsored by Nooks.ai and BDR.ai. The technology driving sales teams generate more closable pipeline than ever before. Ready to 10x your pipeline? Tap into the power of AI with Nooks and BDR.ai today. Thanks for being part of the AI for Sales movement. Until next time, keep crushing it.